Garvey, Kwame
they done sent in
Ture,
ICE,
Kwame Nkrumah,
they done sent in National Guard.
Martial Law Productions.
What if they call martial law? Civil war. After everybody's gone, and it's us, and we all alone.
Outlaw RBG, salute.
This the black state of emergency, BSOE team RBG. Black state of emergency, BSOE team RBG. BSOE. Black state of emergency, BSOE team RBG. BSOE, black state of emergency. Black people need to act urgently. Colonizers never had courtesy. How many times have we seen perjury, a purge, or a murder spree? Beatdowns hurting D, bloodhounds search for D. Red for the blood, and we all bleed burgundy. Black for the man, black power be the circuitry. Green for the land, plant seeds in the nursery. Grow food to feed, eat while to nourish thee. Food for thought, only talk and speak to encourage thee. Brothers and sisters need to show love purposely. I need you and you need me certainly. Ubuntu, we are one. Work with me, time to unite despite the diversity. I am not the op, stop watching me aggressively. The op is the oppressor, opposition to the legacy. This the black state of emergency, BSOE team RBG. This the black state of emergency, BSOE team RBG. This the black state of emergency,
RBG, salute.
This the black state of emergency, BSOE team RBG.
Yo, this is how we ride, organize and ride. This is how we ride, organize and ride. Black state of emergency, we urgent with the urgency. Mentally, emotionally, we need the surgery. Cause the cancer, tension, attention, currency. Breathe it in, seed it internally. Heal advance, future needed concurrently. See hospitalized terminally. Tick tock on the dancer. Traumatized lives, why lives moving faster, faster. Living seeking attention, work to death. No intention of prevention for more disaster. No more yearning for the learning, even health concerning. Killing self-wealth, draining life like conversion. Trusting demon, deceiving what we believe in. Offending, receding, or achieving. Time to be and removing delusion of competing.
This the black state of emergency, BSOE team RBG. This the black state of emergency, BSOE team RBG.
Salute.
This the black state of emergency, BSOE team RBG. This the black state of emergency, BSOE team RBG.
Black state of emergency, heart beating like a roar, trying to heal in the world that keeps locking the door. They say peace, but the streets still inheriting their pain. Same scripts, different actors still stuck in the frame. Walking with my ancestors, talking loud at my steps. Every lesson costs blood, every blessing comes checks. When you're angry, we alert. That's a difference, fam. When survival turn poetic, that's resistance, man. From the ill street blues to the textbook lies, they monetize trauma, then question our cries. Still planting new futures in concrete and soil, turning pressure into purpose. Every dream we told I see, fight in the youth eyes, trapped on the grind. Black state of emergency, we organize minds. We studied every track, they try to keep us apart. Now unity and science, put the theory in your heart.
This the black state of emergency, BSOE team RBG.
Tell me who I am.
It's sober feminine.
Tell me who I am.
It's sober feminine.
Tell me who I am.
It's sober feminine. This is what it sound like when you be lacking and don't know what's happening.
Tell me who I am.
It's sober feminine. This is what it sound like when you be lacking and don't know what's happening. Self-identity.
Tell me who I am.
them wet up, need a mop. Police coming,
Martial
baby,
Law
stop.
Productions.
Chopper in a Glock, caught him blacking at the stove. Bullets flying, bodies drop. Mental state, they see him stable, screwed up. Michael Watts, mask off. Ain't no future, it's so game, we crashing out. Staying lifted off this eye. I don't question, face my doubt. Dollars boost my self-esteem. Got a habit like a fiend. I ain't listening to no preacher or no speech from Dr. King. Keep them white designers on me, call them slave brands. My mama praying to the Lord, saying amen. Neighborhood is in despair. Hit the streets like I don't care. Sister Mick can kiss my ass or wash her off my underwear. Gang shit, that's all I'm on. U.S. nigga factory, yeah, they clone Tyrone. My identity's hidden, history bit for bit. It's a crisis, but we seeking out the truth we commit. We say, searching for identity, the system trying to hinder me. Dealing with the misery embedded in my chemistry. Lie to me about her name, we here not gon' trace again. Tell me who I am, 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 tell me who I am.
Used to be influenced by the Panthers, at least that's what we taught. Lost for real, searching for an answer since nobody knows. Everything for sale, off the scale, and straight out the door. Crazy how crack created projects
Martial
out
Law
of
Productions.
turn the metroplex into a metronome.
Yeah. 1, 2, 1, 2. Yeah. Okay, we coming in clear. We coming in clear. I think we coming in clear in your ear. Outlaw Radio is back in attack. Matter of fact, it's like that. We back at it, y'all. Outlaw Radio is back in the building, baby. First and foremost, shout out to the ancestors. 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 Shout out to Malik Kalam. Shout out to Asada Shakur, Matulu Shakur, Tupac Shakur, Afeni Shakur. Shout out to Malcolm X, Marcus Mosaic Garvey. Shout out to Amy Jaquez Garvey. Shout out to Ella Baker. Shout out to all the ancestors. Shout out to all the ancestors. Shout out to your personal ancestors. You got some personal ancestors. Shout them out too. We need that. Welcome back to Outlaw Radio, y'all. I am your most humble host, yours truly, Big Nel Obuya. We back one more time. What y'all listening to in the background is music from the Black State of Emergency mixtape, brought to you by Team RBG. Shout out to Team RBG. Black State of Emergency. This whole concept of Black State of Emergency came out of the work with Team RBG. So I decided to dedicate an episode of Outlaw Radio to discussing Black State of Emergency. I'm gonna localize it for Atlanta, for Georgia. So folks who are local, they'll be able to kind of keep up with what's going on. If you're not from Atlanta, you're not from Georgia, that's okay. You'll still be able to relate what we talk about in our, general conversation, because it all applies. We all talking about community work in general. We talking about ways of organizing some of the issues that stand in the way of us being able to create that organizing, and also how we're gonna combat that. So we're going through all of that stuff, man. And want to give a shout out, of course, fatherhood. Shout out to Malcolm X and Muhammad Ali, showing us what fatherhood is all about, what it looked like. Glitter and gleam ain't all what it look like. Yeah, sometimes I gotta get into my little UGK vibe. But nonetheless, we back at it. Outlaw Radio. We back in the building. I want to give a shout out to, first and foremost, man, to my family. Shout out to the Fletcher wing of my blood. The Fletchers, the persons all the folks out there in Chattanooga, folks out there in Ohio, folks out there in Alabama. Do we still got folks in Alabama? I think we still do. Folks out in Alabama, and then the rest of us scattered around. You know, the rest of us who left Chicago. There's still some of us still in Chicago too. So shout out to the folks in Chicago too. But yeah, man, I want to give a shout out to my family, man. You know, we are celebrating the life of my Uncle Tommy, who just passed on. We just had his funeral. It was a good opportunity for me to actually see some family I hadn't seen in a long time and reconnect. So, you know, I'm thankful for his life, and I'm thankful for the fact that his life and his celebration of his life was able to bring us together as family. So I'm thankful for that. So shout out to my family. Also want to give a shout out to the city of Atlanta. There's a lot going on out here in Atlanta. A lot of different festivals coming up. We in festival season, man. So shout out to the Sweet Auburn Fest. Shout out to Georgia Me. You know, the Georgia Me week. I don't even know if it's a week no more. It seems like it's like 8 or 9 days worth of stuff. But shout out to Georgia Me and the whole crew over there. Shout out to the Malcolm X grassroots movement. They got the Malcolm X Festival coming up. Of course, we're going to be talking a little bit more about the Claim Malcolm X Day with Too Raw for TV, as well as the Fire in the Booth coming with Too Raw for TV as well. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But shout out to everybody else. Shout out to the Jazz Festival too, man. I am excited about the Jazz Festival. Anybody who knows me know I am a big fan of the Jazz Festival. I think we're going to get the tent out there. We're going to set up with the tent. Nothing real formal, nothing fancy. We're just going to get out there with the tent, some chairs. So, you know, if you see me out there, you're welcome to join me and pop up. Just don't come here empty-handed. You know what I'm talking about? Shout out to y'all. Anyway, so we're talking about the Black State of Emergency. So I wanted to focus in the Street Scholar Report on some stuff that's up and coming. But before I get too far, I want to remind you all that this is not just a podcast. What we do here at Outlaw Radio is we bring you actual reports, Street Scholar reports. So some of these reports are academic. Some of them are more mainstream. All of them are done with the utmost integrity because we don't have any political party that we're beholden to. We're not Democrats here. We're not Republicans here. And even in the traditional sense of an independent, we're not that, although we do consider ourselves independent. We are New Africans, so our whole concept is independent, but it's for independence sake. That said, this report that we're talking about today is specifically dealing with the Black State of Emergency. And before you scroll, before you go too fast down the road, I want you to understand and know something that this conversation may be a little uncomfortable for some people who work within our communities. Reason why is because sometimes we don't always like to talk about all of our issues. We like to talk about the sexy issues, and this is our opportunity to kind of break that today. So we're going to be speaking to the ones who already know as well as the ones who don't know, and the ones who think they know and wish they understood. And we're going to be coming with receipts. We're going to be coming with research and all that kind of good stuff, right? To go back to something that Brother Malcolm said, Malcolm X, he said that if you don't stand for something, you fall for anything. And a lot of times what we have people who have a particular stance when it comes to an opinion. They have an opinion, rather, about a lot of things that happen within our community. And they have a stance internally or even within their social group. But you don't really see that stance materializing in their daily life. And it doesn't have to be a situation where you're a gun-toting, card-carrying member of a revolutionary black organization. You don't got to do all that. You know what I'm saying? There are ways to be involved, but I think that you have to first become interested in being involved before you can find those ways. They're not just going to jump out at you. And unfortunately, a lot of people, what they do is they're armchair quarterbacks. So a lot of what I want to talk about today kind of goes to that. Some of the conversations that I've seen on social media and some of the stuff that I've had just interpersonally. And let me be clear, a lot of what people have been focused on when it comes to social media these days, the majority of that is a distraction. Stuff is distracting our people and our community from really focusing on the things that are really important for us in a time when we need to focus on them. That's why it's important for us to really highlight this Black state of emergency. Black America is not just in a crisis because of a cultural failure. It's in a crisis because of a power failure, sort of a power vacuum, if you will. You got this community of people, us in particular, who have no leaders who stand up for what we really want as a collective. The violence amongst young Black men, the violence against women, the medical neglect, the generational softness are all symptoms of people who share standards, economic organization, and political return, or institutional memory of something that is no longer here. Think about it. We focus in on some of our historical leaders, Brother Abernathy, Dr. Abernathy, Minister Abernathy, Minister Dr. King, and we talk about all of these different leaders that have come over time within the city of Atlanta context and in general in Black communities. It's just not enough to know about it though. We have to actually put our hands to the plow and be a part of it. And it's different initiatives like the Black State of Emergency Initiative, the Claim Malcolm X Day, Fire in the Booth. These are all coordinated responses in the sense that we're talking about research, political declaration, and cultural pipelines that lead to Black liberation. We're not just talking about talk. We're not just talking about Black liberation for Black liberation's sake in general. We actually have some clear steps and clear goals that we have in mind. Malcolm X's method was clear, it was disciplined, and it was intentional with an international consciousness. That's why we're going to be referencing some things that are international. We're going to be referencing some things that are local. And we're going to be referencing some things that go across boundaries. The method still works, trust me. That said, Street Scholar Report. Street Scholar Report. Grooving a little bit. So what is the Black State of Emergency Initiative? Just to give y'all a little bit of insight, I played a couple songs from the Black State of Emergency mixtape brought to you by Team RBG. Last week I also played Mangoes and Moringa, which also comes from that mixtape brought to you by Team RBG. And the initiative is designed to provide proper propaganda, to give you some clues, some insights, some cultural references to the things that are going on within our community. One of those songs that played was Black State of Emergency, which is like the title track. And then Tell Me Whom I Am was another one of those songs, which I like that joint. I like both of those songs. Of course, I like Mangoes and Moringa because I'm on it. But I like those songs because they really encapsulate the emergency, the sense of emergency we have to have when it comes to our Black communities. That being said, Outlaw Radio and Run It Back Media is also going to be contributing some research to the Black State of Emergency campaign as well. It's coming in the form of the Black Women's Study. We're actually going to be releasing it as an ebook and as a physical booklet eventually. But it's research that's being done to put women's issues in the forefront of the Black State of Emergency conversation. We don't have enough of that, and we'll talk more about that within the show. Also, I wanted to highlight the Claim Malcolm X Day. Claim Malcolm X Day is going to be on May 19th, which is the birthday of Malcolm X. For all y'all who did not know, Malcolm X's birthday was on May 19th, 1925. So this is 101 years since Malcolm X was here. 101 years. We celebrated 100 years of our brother last year. From Atlanta to Tehran, so this is also including New York. This is also including LA. It's also including London. We got folks all over the world who are going to be tapped in with us at 2raw4tv.tv with the global live stream. And I mean, we keep talking about the time. We've been all over the place with time. I think at the actual venue, at the actual 1111 Sports Bar and Grill, which is in Ellenwood, we'll be having the doors open at 12 p.m. The actual streaming in Atlanta or in the Eastern Standard Time is going to start at 1 p.m. from my understanding. And it's going to stream all the way until 3 p.m. And then we're going to still be in the building until 4 p.m. if I'm not mistaken. If I am mistaken, then I'll just correct it next week. But I'm pretty sure that's what we're looking like. I'll actually be in the building speaking, and I'll be talking about how this whole concept of how freedom fighters are considered terrorists in the midst of the war while the war is going on. So stay tuned for that, man. I'm excited because this is going to be me kind of stepping into the keynote shoes, stepping into the whole thing as a keynote. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited about it, and it's for a dope situation. We're talking about the Claiming Malcolm X Day, and I think that's important because this is something that is co-sponsored with the foundation, the Malcolm X Foundation, excuse me, that is in Iran. So they've actually claimed Malcolm X as an international influence for them and their fight for freedom. And in solidarity, we have connected with them. Now, let me be clear when it comes to that, because we live in America, and you know how folks get in America. Big Nel Obuya, Too Raw for TV. Like I said earlier, we are not partisan, nor are we part of anybody's organization. We have not been recruited by any organizations, nor are we currently part of any organizations that stand to do any type of immediate attack on the American soil. In fact, we are born here and we are obligated to defend our home and our land as foundational Black Americans. The New African political stance is my political stance. However, I am foundational to this land. Therefore, I will defend my land. That is my caveat. I say that because, you know, oftentimes when we have these conversations, stuff gets twisted and they like to try to act like they don't really understand what's going on. So somebody might throw the smoke screen and say, oh yeah, you're supporting the country that America's at war with. Are you a terrorist? And this is exactly what I'm talking about in my piece. You know, the whole concept of being a terrorist because you're fighting for freedom, and the person who you're fighting against paints you as a terrorist with propaganda. So that's what that whole piece is about. So I'm glad to have framed that in that light, and I hope that y'all can feel that. All right, so moving forward, first thing we want to talk about is this in Atlanta. Anybody who is native to Atlanta, who has lived in Atlanta for a while, if you've watched the news, one of the things that you just cannot shake is this overarching trend of violence in the city, gun violence in particular. A lot of these acts are situations where people are having disagreements, so they're not necessarily random acts per se. It's not like somebody just walking up to somebody in the street, like, "Hey, nigga, I want to shoot you," and start busting shots at us. That's not what's happening. So all the white supremacists, you can get that out of your mind. This is sort of what happens when institutional racism meets institutional mind control, because in my opinion, I think that a lot of the violence that comes from young Black men having issues with other young Black men, where they'll settle it with gun violence, I think that comes from the media. If you listen to the radio, if you turn the radio right now, if you like, not right now, like just to finish the show, finish to the show. But if you turn on the radio today, on any one of the hip hop stations, at any point, you're gonna hear a slew of songs about somebody wanting to do something to their ops and shooting their ops, putting their ops down. This could be male or female. So because it's not just the guys, it's the female rappers rapping about this stuff too. So that's not to say that that's contributing to the violence amongst men, but it does contribute to this whole mindset of accepting the gun violence, being okay with it. Gun violence is not about code. Like, you're not being cool. You don't get good cool points from shooting somebody. You get into it with somebody and then y'all have a disagreement and you immediately go to pulling your tool, and like that does not make you hard. It's not defending your masculinity, your manhood. In fact, it really just shows that you are not confident in your ability to de-escalate the situation like a man. Because the first step in manhood, the highest level of manhood when it comes to person-to-person interaction, the highest level of manhood when it comes to like um, having a negative interaction with somebody, an argument, a disagreement, is de-escalation. That's manhood. Like, if you can de-escalate the situation, however you got to do it, it doesn't necessarily matter, especially if somebody you don't know. But somebody you don't know, it really doesn't matter. But if it's somebody you know, you can save face in order to de-escalate the situation and then have a conversation later while cool heads are prevailing about what was really going on so you can settle the actual issue. What you don't want to do is do what most people do, is escalate along with other people. So when somebody gets loud or somebody gets disrespectful, you want to match their energy to show that you ain't no punk or you ain't no hoe. And sad to say, that doesn't show people that you're not no punk or that you're not no hoe, because there's plenty of folks who done did that, got locked up, and then prison exposed them for being a punk and a hoe. Because the walls will do that to you, boy. When you get behind the walls, boy, them folks start poking at you. You know, it expose whether or not you a hoe and you a punk. So your reaction in that situation didn't actually do anything for that status. It just put you in a very scary situation, very dangerous situation. Let me read some stats. For young black males 15 through 34, that represents 5% of the population in the state of Georgia, but 45% of all gun homicide deaths statewide. Let me read that again. Young black males ages 15 through 34 represent approximately 5% of the population in the state of Georgia. And but 45% of all gun homicide deaths statewide. That's more than 21% higher than white male. 21%. Now, you can tell me what you want to tell me about all the stats are racist and you know, who's doing the statistics or where these stats come from. I'll read another one. Atlanta saw a 59% increase in homicides from 2019 to 2020, rising from 99 to 157 killings. That's Atlanta. That's the city of Atlanta, y'all. Although these figures are not broken down by race and in the source, black males are majority of homicide victims in urban centers, including Atlanta. And we just talked about it being them being the majority in the state of Georgia, so that shouldn't be too hard to believe. Let me see. And you probably asking yourself, why, Big Nel, why are you reading these stats, bro? Why even go through all this? I'm reading this out because what happens a lot of times in our communities with the pro-black, the conscious, the awoken people, a lot of times is we have this nostalgic view of our community. We have this nostalgic view of us as a people where there's nothing that we've done wrong that we can take accountability for. And everything that does come, that is proven that coming from our community that's done wrong, should be met with the response of that comes from institutional racism. And it may very well come from institutional racism. It may very well come from poverty. It may very well come from the educational system being lackluster. The question isn't about where it comes from, because most of us who are doing the work and the research, we got a good idea of where it comes from. The question is, what are we going to do about it? What are you doing about it? What are you within your community doing about it? Are you making a Facebook post about it? Are you having an argument with somebody on TikTok, on X about it? Are you going back and forth with some petty argument or some petty bickering with a racist trying to defend why black people are going through these issues? Is that what you're doing? Because if that's what you're doing, let me tell you something, man. You're not really in tune with this whole black state of emergency that we're dealing with. Let me tell you something. This is an emergency. It's an emergency, and most of us are treating this like it's optional. Most of us spend most of our day filling our heads with the exact media that has hypnotized our community to create some of these numbers. Most of us spend our day re-hypnotizing ourselves with the same media that is responsible for the numbers that we're talking about in these studies. And I also mentioned the black woman study. A lot of the statistics from that are staggering, man. Like if I can go into some of that, like that stuff is staggering. When it comes to black women statistics, man, Malcolm X was not kidding when he said black women are the most disrespected, unprotected group of people in the country. And this is why that matters, right? Because the response to that will be, yeah, that's why we need black feminism. That's why we need the Democrats to come in 2026 and in 2028 to do A, B, and C and da 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 da. And here's where I draw the line when it comes to that. How long has the black woman been the backbone of the Democratic Party? How long has the black woman been the strong arm of the feminist movement? Black woman, how long are you going to continue to be the spokesperson for these movements that can't prioritize your needs? Because I'll tell you, man, I've been reading some of these stats, and it's staggering because I'm thinking to myself, like, you know, if I was a black woman, I would have a hard time. I would have a real hard time believing that any political party had my back. Some of the statistics when it comes to medical health that I found is just crazy. It's crazy. And the reason why it's so crazy to me is because you hear it all the time. You hear black women complaining about, oh, they don't listen to us in the hospital. Black women giving birth and dying because the nurses aren't paying attention to them while they're sitting there having pain and having bleeding and stuff like that. The man has to always be there in order for the folks to do what they need to do. And if the man ain't there, the folks are probably gonna half-ass their work. Let me read these stats, man. Let's see. Maternal mortality is consistently 2 to 4 times higher for black women than for white women. Recent CDC data placed the 2023 rate around 50.3 deaths per 100,000 live births for black women versus 14.5 for white women. So come on, man, that's crazy. That's crazy. Black women have higher overall mortality, shorter life expectancy, and disproportionately higher burdens of chronic conditions that includes cardiovascular disease and obesity, driven by structural inequalities in housing and employment and neighborhood conditions. Let me address the obesity real quick, because people like to say, oh, you know, black women, we naturally thick. Don't be talking about black women's bodies. Don't be body shaming. Man, let's keep it all the way 300. I love a thick black woman. I love me some black women. Woo! Let me tell you something. I love black women. Listen, I'm not one of those dudes you got to worry about that hates black women. I love me some black women. You know what I'm saying? I love them. I love them thick. I love them slim. I love them dark-skinned, light-skinned. I just happen to be married to a woman who was light-skinned and who is lighter complected and is relatively fit. So, but I love them all. I love them all. That I guess does that make me a polygamist? Because I still love all the other black women. I don't know. I don't want to get slapped up, so let me not say that. Anyway, that said, this whole obesity issue is a real issue, and it really comes from lack of accountability when it comes to diet and lifestyle. All women, I think, in America party too much. I think there's too much of an emphasis of live your life, have fun, YOLO, all this type of stuff. There's too much of that. There's too much partying and And the reason why I say it's too much of that, not because I'm somebody who hates fun or nothing like that. It's because you can't keep track of what you're eating and what you're drinking when you're always partying. If you're under the influence of alcohol, then you're not keeping track of what you're eating. So you could be eating a plethora of food that at a younger age, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, you can burn that off relatively quickly. Your metabolism is high. You're probably more active in terms of the things you're doing. So you're burning calories. You may even be in the gym. So at that age, it doesn't really matter. But the problem is you build up habits that you think you can carry on in the 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. And then when you get in your 30s, you start to see the wear and tear that comes from the lifestyle. And then you think, oh, I can still do it. I just got to start doing this and start doing that. That's when you start having the enhancements and implants just to live a lifestyle. I'm telling you, ladies in general, and black women specifically, the lifestyle is killing you. The food, the drink, not getting enough rest, constantly chasing dopamine, that's killing you. We got to have a little bit more discipline in our communities because the discipline is needed. 1, to stay healthy, 2, to stay focused, and 3, just because we gotta get shit together. The man is the head, in my opinion. From my perspective, the man is the head of the household, but the woman is the body. The woman is the spine. You know what I'm saying? Let me say the children are the body. The woman is the spine. The man's the head. The woman is the spine. And you can't live without the other. One can't live without the other. One is not more important than the other. The brain and the spine are connected. And there's a reason why that connection is necessary. That connection is necessary because you can't do anything without that connection. So I say that to say, we got to be more accountable about the obesity piece. I think everything else, stuff like the cardiovascular disease, that also can come from lifestyle, but a lot of it can be prevented with better health care. And this is where we got to fill in the gap when it comes to providing black women with better health care in general. We got to have better options for black women. All of us need better health care. Black men, we got to start going to the doctor too, way more often. But we're talking about specifically the issues related to black women. That's why I made that focus. Black women still have a wage gap. You know, they earn 69 to 70% of what white non-Hispanic men earn, even though they earn more degrees. There's also the issue of violence against black women. Violence against black women. Black women in the United States have homicide rates about 6 times of those of white women. So we got to address that as well. They're proportionally affected by intimate partner violence, gun violence, and femicide, and are more likely to live in a heavily policed community while facing both underprotection and overcriminalization. So they have the dual issue. Black women have the dual issue of facing underprotection. So still having these issues, but being overcriminalized. So being victims of the very system that's put in place to protect them, not protecting them. Like I mentioned, black women have made large gains when it comes to higher education. 38% of young black women now hold college degrees, which doesn't necessarily mean much outside of the connected factors that come with having degrees. Some of those connected factors are income, quality of life choices, and how that impacts the education and the well-being of the children. So all that stuff is connected. You can't deny that because the numbers don't lie. Significantly, they outpace black men, of course. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean, again, the importance is different because we have black men who work a lot of the blue-collar jobs, and many of those blue-collar employment opportunities paid as well, if not better, than some of the white-collar opportunities that come from degrees. So there are some parity points when it comes to income. It's just the actual education piece is more of an indicator. So it hits harder as an indicator. This being the case, they also carry more debt. Black women carry more debt, and this could be an issue for a lot of reasons. One, because carrying more debt really stands in the way when it comes to wealth building, but it also can be a turnoff when it comes to finding a married partner. Of course, you know, I'm a heterosexual man, so I'm talking about heterosexual relationships. But I can imagine a woman or somebody who's trans who wants to marry a woman would also have a problem with a woman having bad credit and bringing that credit into their life. So that's something to consider, ladies and gentlemen. Misogyny war as an issue as well, and this is all going to be covered in the Black State of Emergency release from Running Back Media when we talk about the Black Woman's Study. I haven't even titled that thing yet, so I can't even tell you what the title's going to be. And when we talk about generational softness, we're really talking about the way that men carry themselves and the way that women carry themselves. Quiet as kept. For a long time, we've had this request for men to be more in touch with their feminine side. Men to be more connected to, you know, the feminine perspective, because we do have the masculine and the feminine on the inside of us as men. We have that. So it's not to say that you can't be in connection to your feminine side as a man. The issue is a lot of times when you get what you ask for, that along with some of the conditions that come from the media and the conditions that come from some of the holdovers of white supremacy, you get some of this bitch assness that comes from a lot of these black men, white men too. I mean, this ain't really just black men. It's you know, this isn't just a racial thing. But this is really for men across the board, but specifically for black men, because that's who, you know, we target mostly. We got to get out of this whole thing where we thinking that we can go with the new age value system of what it means to be a man. We got to really refer back to the ancestors on what it means to be a man, because the world is round, the world is cyclical. You know, they found technology in different parts of the world, and some of this technology, it dates over 10,000 years ago, but it operates in a way that shouldn't have been known until within the past 10 years in terms of the way the technology is designed and works and operated, appears to have been able to operate based on what we can surmise from the technology that we found. What this tells me, and you may see this as a little bit of a conjecture, but what this tells me is that this isn't the first time we've gotten this far with our technology in the world. And it looks like because of whatever reason, the world had wiped out the civilizations that were in the past and allowed us to kind of start anew as human beings. And here we are again doing the same stuff, which I think we could end up wiping ourselves out a little bit faster. That's my conspiracy theory for the day. That's my conspiracy theory for the day, y'all. So what do we got to do to deal with this? For one, we got to have clarity. So we got to have clarity about where we stand in terms of a black state of emergency. We got to understand that there is a black state of emergency. We can't waver from this. Team RBG will be out with the Black Squad, doing interviews with folks, asking folks' opinions and insight when it comes to Black State of Emergency. So stay tuned for that. We'll be at the Malcolm X Festival as well as some of the other events around the city of Atlanta. Just doing some spot interviews, trying to get some footage and really trying to see where people's heads at. But first and foremost, we got to know that there's something going on. So we got to have clarity. Also, we got to have discipline. We got to have some things that are standard, some things that are non-negotiables. You know, at some point, people have to get active. And I mean, if getting active for you is taking the step of registering to vote and becoming a registered voter, you know, by all means do that, because it takes some level of political education in order to get there. And the more that you do, the more you can kind of bend your frame into what it needs to be for your community and what you've been called to work on. So definitely having discipline, but also having discipline with yourself. Having enough discipline to have the kind of lifestyle that enables you to be able to be of value to your community and not just somebody that's for yourself, just a pariah. Also, international consciousness. It's important to know what's going on around the world. You know, a lot of people. I saw when the Israeli war against Iran first began, and they started bombing, and then some of the folks who were in Dubai out there in the UAE were like experiencing the bombing and stuff. They were clearly like, we don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on, but it's crazy out here. Like, how can you not know what's going on, man? You gotta know what's going on. You gotta understand what's going on in the world. How can you visit anywhere in the world and not know what's going on? It's just crazy to me. So, yeah, make sure you're in the know of what's going on around the world, not just locally. It's important to know what's going on locally, but understand the world, because the world stuff is affecting what's going on locally. The reason why your gas is 400, that'd be crazy. The reason why your gas is $4.50 right now is because of what's going on internationally, not what's going on locally. So you got to understand that international consciousness is important, and these are all things that Malcolm X himself thought was important and emphasized in his work, emphasized for us to keep in mind, emphasized for us to do. What you need to know is that we're not asking permission to define our heroes. We are just taking it and we are doing what we do. So when we are utilizing our heroes, we're standing up for what our heroes stood for. We're not allowing the media to tour that. And that includes Michael Jackson, because he's a hero as well. We're not going to allow the media to draw attention to stuff that had been refuted years ago. But they just want to have the negative impact on his name. So we're going to stand against that. And I want to close by saying discipline is love, indeed. Organization is power, for sure. Power is the goal. We live in a stolen government on stolen land, so we speak a stolen language. Outlaw RBG Zalute.